welcome to Around Town with Rotary. My name is Mike Harrington from the Beverly Rotary Club. This is a monthly show that we produce to really tell everybody at home all the interesting things that are going on around town with the Beverly Rotary Club. We have a club that's been around for 100 years now. We have over 100 members from all different walks of life, and we do all kinds of good deeds around the city of Beverly and have a lot of fun along the way. We have a very special guest here today. I'd like to introduce Diane Howard. Diane Howard is a local attorney, but she's the president of the Beverly Rotary Club this year. So welcome, Diane.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, great to see you. Hey, we're going to talk about a lot of things today. We're going to talk about your career. We're going to talk about Rotary and all the things that are going on, particularly this year with your presidency. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from? And can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I grew up in Vermont, which is a little unusual maybe. Came to Massachusetts for college and never left. And I've been in Beverly since 1988.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Family?
Yes. I grew up in a family of 6 kids.
Oh, goodness.
My dad was a mechanical engineer. My mom was a first grade school teacher. 5 girls, 1 boy, so it was kind of land of the Amazons, let's say. Family here, yes, I have 2 grown children. Who went to Beverly Public Schools, I'd like to say.
Oh, you did? Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, the kids, yep. Mm-hmm.
So obviously now you're an attorney. Tell us a little bit about your educational background to kind of set you up to be an attorney.
Sure. I came to Massachusetts to go to Mount Holyoke College for undergrad. I went to law school in Boston and never left. I practiced in Boston for a long time, and in the last 12 years or so, I've been up here in Beverly.
Oh, good. So you have your own independent practice.
I do now, yes. For 25 years approximately, I worked for a couple of different firms in Boston doing civil litigation, trial work.
Is that primarily what you focus on, is civil litigation and trial work? And
Yes, mostly personal injury, people that are hurt through the carelessness of others, yes, that's what I do.
Well, I bet that keeps you pretty busy.
It's fun.
What have you found most rewarding about being an attorney?
The ability to help people when they're in a bad place. Mm-hmm. And, they, like I say, they're often hurt, and you can get fixed up at the hospital, but that doesn't take care of everything. So I like being the source that can get their lives back on track, and also making sure people are responsible for their actions. So,
well, goodness, it sounds like you've had a chance to help a lot of people. So good for you.
I hope so.
How did COVID affect your career? Were there any slowdowns? Did you keep busy, or?
Yeah, there was a market slowdown. A lot of my business depends on people going out in public, going out in society, and working. And those were 2 things that didn't happen a whole lot during the past year. So, I mean, the most important thing is to get through the pandemic and, get through the other side. Really.
Well, yeah, it's been such a challenging year for so many people in different industries and situations. But the point you made, as long as we get through it healthy and we're coming out the other side, it's all good. So,
right. Exactly.
Hope things are busy now. Hey, let's talk about another interest of yours. I know you also do some cooking and catering, and that's a really interesting talent. Tell everybody at home a little bit about how that happened and your experience doing that.
Okay. Well, as I said, I grew up in a big family, and my mother was a working mother, and we were all expected to pitch in, including making dinner from scratch. And so that was how I was brought up. Like, you learn to cook, you learn to bake. And I brought up my own kids that way. I always enjoyed cooking. Was told a number of times you should open a restaurant, which I really never wanted to do. But so when my kids got older and left home, I had more time on my hands, and I thought, I saw I saw a job opening or a job opportunity, people that were hiring. A catering company called Chive, which was on Rantoul Street in Beverly, and kind of showed up and went to work, and I did front of house for a few events and realized I didn't really like that as much as back of house. So I became a catering chef, working for them, prepping food for events, and also on site during events. Did that for about 8 years, actually, nights and weekends. So it
Well,
was
that must
fun.
have been a nice addition to your legal career. I bet when you bring up to people the fact you're an attorney, but you also do some catering, that they're probably more excited about the catering stuff.
Oh yes, they are much more excited to talk about food than anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that we all have in common. We all love, right?
Any special food you like to cook, or things that like signature recipes, or things that?
Well, you really have to be flexible and be able to cook everything. When that's whatever the client wants, really. Chive was a great business in that it was among the first on sustainable and farm to table. Is an overused phrase now, but I mean, they really meant it. We would go out to the farm and, get the strawberries or get all the produce, and produce would be delivered to us from local farms to put on the party. Yeah.
So you were farm to table before farm to table became kind of cool.
Yes.
Kind
Yes.
of
yes.
a trendsetter back in the day.
Yes. And a shout out to Jen Friedson and Lindsay Wishart, the two founders of Chive, two great women leaders who built a company that was very cooperative and collegial. Not like you see on a TV reality show where people are throwing pots and pans and swearing. It was not like that at all.
So a dramaless catering operation.
Well, there's always drama when
always
you're trying
drama.
to put on a wedding for 200 in a field.
Yeah, well, you and I both know. I ran a restaurant for many years, and when you're involved in hospitality and food service, there's always a little bit of drama behind the scenes, but it's kind of like putting on a play. You hope the day of the performance, everything goes well, and everybody brings their A game.
It's a lot like being a trial lawyer, actually.
I suppose, yeah.
There was a lot in common with that
Same
because
way.
you spend a lot of time gathering facts and evidence and eventually putting on, the production, which is a trial, or produce recipes, people, equipment, and putting on a party or an event.
Yes, the preparation is key.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody measures your performance that day, but there's a lot of stuff that gets loaded in prior to that to make sure that it goes well.
Exactly. Yep.
Super. Hey, let's pivot over to Rotary Club. I'm always curious to find out how people learned about Rotary or ended up in Rotary. And oftentimes I find it's kind of by accident. Someone met somebody and all of a sudden, the topic of Rotary came up. But if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about how you were introduced to Rotary.
Well, my dad actually was a Rotary member. He joined Rotary when he retired and became president of his club, which is kind of cool. But I think I was off at college and it was just sort of in the background. Then when I moved to Beverly and I was here for a while, and a friend of mine was a Rotary member and kind of brought me into the fold that way.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So you had a little bit of familiarity with Rotary. It wasn't foreign to you because your dad was a Rotarian. Even though you weren't that close to it, you probably had a sense of what was involved in Rotary.
A lot of sort of general background, but also specifically I knew that they sponsored exchange students over because my parents actually did that when they were empty nesters. So that was the part I was most familiar with before I actually joined.
Okay. So how long has it been now?
I'd say 10 years.
Okay. And just, I know obviously you're the president now. We're going to spend a lot of time on today's show talking about your presidency and some of those activities. But, reflecting back on the 10 years you've been in Rotary, just what are some of the committees you've served on, or some of the things that, have been, part of your experience being a Rotarian?
Sure. I think the first really active thing I did was I was on the Sprocket Committee, which is the name of our weekly newsletter. And it just lets members know what happened at the meeting and what's coming up. And I was also on the Sergeant Committee, which is kind of fun. It's a little bit like doing a stand-up routine every week, and you try to raise a little bit of money and,
have some fun.
get some camaraderie going there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the two main ones.
Well, good for you. Well, Rotary's interesting. I think they have this cross-section of interesting people. I know in the Rotary Club we have some really interesting people with different backgrounds, but try to get everybody to latch onto something that might, match pretty well with their style or their background or some strength they might have or something that relates to their career. And everyone's a little bit different, so that matchmaking process is kind of interesting. So,
yeah.
But it sounds like the Sprocket and the Sergeant Committee gave you kind of some early things to kind of keep you involved in Rotary.
Yes, yes. I think they realized right away that I had a hard time keeping my mouth shut at meetings, so they thought that Sergeant would be a good payback on that.
Oh, good deal, good deal. So let's talk about becoming president. At some point, somebody probably approached you and said, hey, would you like to be president? Tell us a little bit of how that whole thing happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it works. You are active in the club and you show that you're interested and dedicated to the club, and you get asked.
Yeah.
And I said yes.
So did you serve on the board for a period of time before?
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I did serve on the board of directors for the Rotary Club for 2 or 4 years. I can't remember.
Okay. So there's a little bit of a runway between the time, someone asks you to be president and you actually become president. Can you just tell people at home a little bit about some of the things you might do to get prepared to be a president in those couple years leading up to that?
Yeah, being on the board of directors is a really good preparation for that, because you get the lay of the land, how our club works, how things get done. But the Rotary International, or the Greater Rotary, puts on training programs for presidents so that they're aware of the organizational requirements and the processes and things like that. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, so there's a lot to learn, but again, a couple-year runway, getting ready to become president. You're going off to the pets or the training for the presidents. Probably get a chance to meet some really interesting other people, too, that are becoming presidents themselves of their clubs.
PETS is President-Elect Training.
Something or other.
Seminar? Something, yeah. Rotary loves its acronyms.
Yeah. Oh, good. So you felt pretty well prepped to go on and become president.
Yes, it's usually a 3 or 4 day training session at a hotel with people coming from everywhere. Of course, my training was on Zoom.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's too bad, because I think in traditional years they probably bring everyone together in more of a live setting, and you get to meet interesting people from all different clubs in the district and from different backgrounds that are all getting prepared to be presidents. So.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. It sounds like being on the board for a couple of years, understanding the business of the club, the ebbs and flows of the club, the different committees, all the different initiatives they're involved in, was probably a good training ground for you to be prepared for that. So
I hope so. We'll find out.
Yeah. In these early stages, how much time every week does it take just to be president? A couple hours a week here and there, or even more so? Or?
Well, I would say, about 3 or 4 hours without doing any service projects, which I like to do a lot. Yeah.
Oh, good. Hey, folks at home, we're just going to take about a 2-minute break here. We have a great video that just kind of highlights some of the people of Rotary, some of the activities, some of the things we've raised money for. Enjoy the video. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Thank you so much.
We raise a lot of money for Beverly organizations.
And they bought us our refrigerated van.
They made a significant contribution to the restoration of Ellis Square.
They helped us house a family experiencing homelessness.
They bought us our bookmobile.
They were actually the first ones to donate instruments to the high school band.
They bought oxygen masks for our rescue dogs.
They helped buy our school bus.
They fund the annual Brad Gage Ice Cream Social at Lynch Park every summer, and they even scoop the ice cream.
Since 2014, they've supported the Cabot, funding preservation of this historic gem.
They helped to fund the Council on Aging van.
They were a major donor to our new infant-toddler playground.
They bought an emergency generator for Harbor Lighthouse.
We funded and built the gazebo.
And we've got a green thumb. A lot of green thumbs.
A lot of green thumbs.
Not to mention sculptures.
We planted more than 100 trees last year.
They donated a shuttle bus stop that brings veterans to the VA hospital in Bedford.
We're going to buy a water drone to clean plastics out of Beverly Harbor.
They make a big difference for United Way.
We give up to 8 scholarships.
8 scholarships every year since the mid-1980s.
And I was a recipient, and thanks to their help, I was the first in my family to go to college.
It's more than just a local organization.
There are 33,000 clubs
in 200 countries with 1.2 million members worldwide.
All that good adds up.
Those do-gooders just keep doing good.
We funded 13 wells in Kisumu, Kenya, bringing water to 13 schools.
We contributed to Kalusha School in Pakistan and later to the construction of a fabulous women's college.
Hi, I'm Izzy Polito. I'm Mirabella Polito. I'm Andrea Polito. And we're all youth exchange students.
We started the youth exchange program 13 years ago, partly because I was also an exchange student in 1979.
I'm Aku. I'm from Finland. They hosted me as an exchange student.
We funded Dr. Gordon Sato of Hamilton, who devised a way to grow trees in salt water in Senegal, Mauritania, and Eritrea.
Our club has funded at least 20 life-changing surgeries around the world.
And we've participated as non-medical volunteers
in the Philippines,
in Bolivia,
and Venezuela.
And remember,
since launching the Polio Plus campaign over 30 years ago, the number of polio cases worldwide has dropped 99%.
In 2019, clubs in the district joined the Polar Plunge to eradicate polio. The clubs raised $90,000. Can we get back to Beverly, please?
Over the past 10 years, we've raised, probably about $100,000. Try $400,000.
over the past 10 years, we've raised over $1 million.
I have made some wonderful friends.
It's downright inspiring.
It's an important part of my week.
It's a very important part of my week.
Sometimes it's the best part of my week.
It's one of the best things I do.
Even if people still ask about the secret handshake.
Welcome back here to Browntown with Rotary. Again, my name is Mike Harrington from the Beverly Rotary Club. Again, our guest here today is Diane Howard. Diane is this year's club president. So welcome back, Diane.
Thank you.
Hey, before we get into the 100th year, I know this is the 100th year of Rotary, and it's kind of interesting that you're able to be a president here during this busy 100th year celebration. And there's all kinds of cool things going on that relate to that. But just getting back to Rotary in general for a minute, now that you've been in Rotary for a while and on the board, I mean, what are some things about Rotary that maybe surprised you, or maybe that the average person at home might not be aware of?
Yeah, thanks. The average person might not be aware that Rotary has been working on eradicating polio throughout the world for decades, and is paired up now with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And polio has been wiped out in most of the world. It only exists in 3 countries at the present time. So that's something that people may not realize. For myself, I wasn't aware of the reach that Beverly Rotary had into the community in terms of supporting social service organizations and not-for-profits that do so much good in our community, really.
Yeah, well, the Rotary Club has their fingers on a lot of different areas, and I think sometimes before you become a member of the club and understand all the different things that we touch, it can be a little bit surprising. And
yeah,
we're grateful to have such a generous group of talented people, that are willing to do some of that stuff.
Exactly, exactly.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about the 100th year. The club was started back in 1921. In the early years, it was an all-men's club. Obviously, along the way, they started welcoming women, thank goodness, and we have a nice mixture now. In the current club, we have over 100 members. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, about 40% women.
Oh, terrific.
And our members come from, different businesses, the churches in town, like I said, not-for-profit and social service organizations, from the education sector, really all the pockets of Beverly.
Okay, so business people more in nonprofits, but a nice cross-section of people that are usually leaders in their organization that bring some of those leadership skills and life experience together to serve the local community and have some fun along the way, right?
Yes, and we welcome retirees also.
Retirees are good too. That's great. So, hey, let's talk a little bit about the 100th year. As the 100th year approached, the club said, gee, we've been in business now for 100 years. Let's kind of celebrate that. And I know there were committees hard at work that have, put together a really cool calendar of different events and activities and things like that. We're about at the midpoint now of that 100th year. So some things have already happened and some things will be upcoming. But can you just tell our viewers at home a little bit about some of the things that have already happened in our 100th year to kind of celebrate this 100th year anniversary?
Sure. We had a really great kickoff celebration, which had to be on Zoom, but there were 100 people participating in it, where every current member of Rotary got a special cupcake, and we had a champagne tasting that went along with that. That was very nice. One of the very successful things we've done to celebrate our 100th year is we had a scavenger hunt that was throughout town, involved a number of businesses, and we had probably 100 people that were not Rotary members that participated in that. And that was, as I say, very popular. We did a bike ride, the Sprocket 100, where you could do 100 miles or 100 minutes or whatever around the North Shore during these summer months, which was also fun. Yeah.
And people sponsored some of those riders
Exactly.
as a kind of a fundraising mechanism as well.
Yes, yes, yes.
And we had some visibility recently at homecoming. Is that correct? Or?
We had some visibility at the block party.
Okay.
At the block party, we helped staff that. Yeah, and I'm almost going to talk about something that's happening on Saturday, but you asked me about things that already happened.
Well, it sounds like a busy, fun year. The scavenger hunt had to be kind of a fun thing. You know, I give credit to the committee. They brought together so many kind of cool, unique, interesting ideas just to really celebrate this year. And I think it was some number we said, gee, let's do 100 service projects or 50. There was some number that we were...
100 acts of service is our goal, and we've really been plugging away at that. As I said, we helped staff the block party, and we did an event during Teacher Appreciation Week at Beverly School for the Deaf, or the Children's Communication Center, or Center for Communication, where we washed the cars of all the great staff and teachers at the Beverly School for the Deaf. We also helped them out at the end of the year where they had some mobility equipment that maybe doesn't get as much attention as it should. We went in and sanitized all of their mobility equipment. So those are the kinds of things that we like to do.
So lots of good deeds all over town.
Yes, exactly.
Rotarians on the move. I like it. So we're about at the midpoint of the year. We've got some other things kind of lined up between now and the end of this year. Can you talk about some of the things that have not happened yet but will be happening between now and the end of 2021?
So happening Saturday is the Arts Fest downtown on Cabot Street between Pond and the other one, Federal. And Beverly Rotary Club will set up a tent and have T-shirts available and laundry-safe markers so that kids can decorate their own T-shirt. And we've done this for a number of years, and the kids love it. It's very, very popular. So we'll be doing that this Saturday. And the 20th anniversary of September 11th is coming up shortly also. There is going to be an open house and tours at the Mass Task Force location that's near Beverly Airport, Massachusetts Emergency Management Authority. And as you probably know, our group from Beverly were some of the first urban search and rescue people on the pile after September 11th. So Beverly Rotary is going to assist, give them labor people to guide the public coming to the site on September 11th. Remind me of some others. I know we have.
Any other service projects or things that are that are coming up here in the queue?
Yeah, we help Beverly Bootstraps with their mobile market where they take fresh produce to senior citizens and housing, low-income housing. For their clients, food drives for them also. Yep.
Okay. You said when you joined Rotary, you were kind of surprised at the outreach, all the different organizations that we typically support. Can you just mention some of the organizations that typically we are able to support in different ways, some of the different organizations around the city?
Sure. So Beverly Bootstraps is an organization that we've supported many times in the past. Family Promise, North Shore Family Promise. The Beverly School for the Deaf the Beverly Children's Learning Center, which is an early education provider here in Beverly, and before school, after school, nutrition, things like that. They also provide. Those are some of them.
Oh, great. And, you know, any organization that anybody at home might be familiar with that's a local organization that's looking for help, we get approached all the time by different groups of people that are looking to raise money for certain initiatives or whatever the case might be. And we try to be generous and help as many people as we can. Can you just indicate how someone that had a certain organization or a fundraising goal that maybe they could approach the club?
If they need staffing, they need people physically to help on a service project or a request for funds, that can all go through our website, which is BeverlyRotaryClub.com.org.
Terrific, terrific.
That would be, yeah.
Hey, I know one of the signature projects this year to celebrate our 100th year is we're putting together a really cool 100th year commemorative book. Can you tell everybody at home a little bit about that book and what's going to be in that, and what that's going to look like?
Sure. So we are raising funds to restore the gazebo on the Common, which Rotary initially built in 1998. But it's much loved and well used, weddings, concerts, and just hanging out. So it needs some repair and renovation. And we're also raising funds for the Beverly Children's Learning Center to expand their library and make it more functional, which will also be a service project because Beverly Rotary members will help paint and organize and do all of that. So our primary way that we're raising funds this year is to put out a commemorative book of our 100th year, which will go through some of the history, which is really intertwined with the city of Beverly. And businesses and individuals, organizations can buy advertising space in our commemorative book. And it's going to be a nice, I think we've referred to it as like a coffee table book.
Right. It's going to have some shelf life. It's something that people are going to kind of want to keep around and reflect. There's so many great faces and stories from 100 years of Rotary. It's not just, GL Point, it's not just the Rotary Club, but it's the city of Beverly and how it's evolved over the past 100 years. And it's been an interesting 100-year ride.
People and places, lots of photographs. It's great.
Oh, great. Well, that's something we're really looking forward to. And again, there's a fundraising component, but it's not just limited to Rotary Club. I mean, anyone across the city that wants to sponsor the book or make a donation to the initiative that helps support the repairs to the gazebo, anybody can get involved, right?
Absolutely. All they need to do is go through the website and we can get them on their way.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a big, thick book on it. It's probably about 100 pages long, full of great stories and pictures. So it'll be a nice read to have hanging around. So great.
And the time frame on that is that we're going to be putting it out in the fall?
In the fall, yeah. So we're printing a few hundred copies, and anybody who places an ad in the book will get a copy of the book, but there'll be other people we distribute it to as well. So it's a great project, and I'm sure it's going to be very colorful. And Brian Murphy, the maestro behind the scenes, I'm sure he's going to do a great job of putting that together.
Yes, our arts genius. Yeah. Art and design genius.
Yeah, well, he's the engine that runs the Beverly Rotary Club, so I'm not sure what we'd do without Brian Murphy, so a shout out to Brian. Well, everybody at home, thank you so much for joining us here today at Around Town with Rotary. Again, our guest here has been Diane Howard, president of the club this year. The Beverly Rotary Club, you're bound to see our members all over the city doing all kinds of great, good deeds and staying active. For anyone at home that would like to learn more about the Beverly Rotary Club, consider joining the Beverly Rotary Club or get more familiar with some of our initiatives and fundraising or some of the fun we're having, we invite you to visit us online at BeverlyRotaryClub.com. But in the meantime, thanks again here for joining. I hope everybody stays well, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time here on Around Town with Rotary. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.